Sabrina here. Today I wanted to share my complete blending process with you. This has been a highly requested and long-awaited video, I'm sure, so I'm very happy to be able to be bringing it to you today. Now I want to go on record and say that I am not professionally schooled in makeup application. Everything that I have learned has been pretty much self-taught or through trial and error, trying something, finding out that really didn't work, or finding something that was a complete dream. And so those are the tips and techniques that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And for this video, I wanted to show you two different methods of blending. So I'm going to be showing you how to blend a crease color out, and I'm also going to be showing you how to blend colors together in the crease for the most seamless, most natural looking application. Before we get into the demo portion of the video, I first want to take a minute to talk about brushes, because brushes are essential when it comes to getting professionally blended results. When I first started out applying makeup, I was using some really crappy brushes, and I noticed that the second I changed my brushes to much better high quality ones, my results went like that. They became 10 times better. So brushes really will make or break your eyeshadow looks. Now, the ones that I use for blending usually are any number of these two kinds. So this is the Sigma E25 blending brush, and this is the MAC 217. Now, I have been really preferring the Sigma E25 over the MAC 217 because I have some of these that are rather scratchy against my eyes, and I have very sensitive eyes, so I don't know if that plays a factor in being able to feel the scratchiness, but I have not ever had a scratchy feeling from the Sigma E25 brushes, and these are a little bit cheaper than the MAC 217, but any of these kinds are perfect for getting those top-notch blended results. And of course, you can't begin any eyeshadow look without a great primer, so I'm going to go ahead and apply my primer here. And the other thing that is essential for top-notch blended results is a blending shade that matches your skin tone perfectly and is matte in finish. So I have quite a number of them that I rely on for blending. You've probably seen me use them a lot in my tutorials. My go-to shade is MAC's Blanc Type, and if you are my coloring and you're looking for a drugstore option, Wet n Wild's Creme Brulee is also a really great blender. And when I say matching your skin tone, I will take a brush here and apply Blanc Type onto the back of my hand. And you can see it blends right in with my skin. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about a eyeshadow that matches your skin tone perfectly. You want it to be able to blend in to where you can't even see where you applied it. So the first thing you want to do is take your blending shade that matches your skin tone perfectly, apply a little bit onto a fluffy brush, and apply this onto the brow bone and bring it down into the crease a little bit. And I do this in every single look I have ever done. Even if you don't see it in my tutorials, it's usually because I've probably cut it out because it gets kind of redundant after a while, but I always apply my blending shade to my brow bone down into the crease a little bit first. And this works because when you go to apply your crease color over into the crease, it makes the edges already become diffused a little bit. So when you go to blend out the edges, they blend a lot easier. Now we'll go ahead and demonstrate that here for you with MAC's Wedge eyeshadow. So I'm taking a crease brush, I'm using the Sedona Lace EB15, and I'm going to apply this lightly into the crease. Just like that. And you can see that it deposits lightly. It's not harsh, it doesn't have any harsh edges. And if you had not applied the blending shade first before applying this eyeshadow, you would see tremendously harsh edges, and it can be rather difficult to blend out. The edges are somewhat already diffused there as it is, but I do want to diffuse them a little bit more. So sometimes, depending on the eyeshadow that I've deposited in the crease, I will go back with a blank brush, so there's nothing on the brush at this point, and just use that to help diffuse the edges more. And sometimes that works really well on its own. You can see it's working really well with this eyeshadow because it's a easy eyeshadow to blend. But if I was working with a little bit more of a difficult eyeshadow, then I would just take a little bit more of the blending shade tiny amount on the tips and start to work from the brow bone down into the edges, and then use that to go along and blend out the edges. And then I just went back and added more of my blending shade onto the lid, and this is a really easy neutral look for any day, any occasion. And now on this eye, I'm going to show you a little bit more of a complex blending process where I'm going to apply two colors in the crease and blend them together. And so for this eye over here, I'm going to be using the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, and I will be doing a look with this one very soon, but you get a free look today with this palette. So I'm taking the eyeshadow here, Succubus, and I'm using a pencil brush from Sigma. This is their E30. And if you wanted to use MAC in place of this eyeshadow, Brown Script is a very close dupe to it. It's just a reddish brown neutral shade. And what I'm going to do is apply this into the crease directly, just like so. And the MAC equivalent to the Sigma brush here is the 219 brush, but I feel like it is much scratchier. It's very hard against the eyelids, and I just like this Sigma brush a lot better. Once I have a good amount of that deposited, I'm going to start blending it with the brush towards the brow bone a little bit. And I just realized I forgot to mention before I started on this eye, I already went ahead and applied my blending shade onto the brow bone like I had over here, and this time I used the Wet n Wild Creme Brulee shade. So you can see that there is no difference between the drugstore eyeshadow or the high-end eyeshadow in terms of the results you'll get. And then I'm taking the eyeshadow Ludwin, which is this light orange at the top of the palette. I am going to be using the Sigma E25 brush with this eyeshadow, and I'm using this eyeshadow to blend out Succubus that I applied there in the crease. And this is a better example of my blending process. It takes a little bit of patience more in a look like this one. So I've applied my first layer of the eyeshadow, and you can see it's starting to blend out the edges. I'm going to go back with a little bit more of that same eyeshadow and apply it over that crease color and continue to blend. And I'm really just working the brush in a back and forth manner to help blend it out. Thankfully, this is an excellent example for a blending video because this eyeshadow that we use to deepen the crease is being a little bit more stubborn than usual to blend out the edges and get a nice fade to the brow bones. So what I'm going to do is go back with a pointed crease brush. This is the Sedona Lace EB15 crease brush. I'm taking the tiniest amount of Succubus again onto the tips of this brush, and I'm lightly going to run over where I applied that to deepen the crease and use this to help blend that. And sometimes I do have to do this. It takes a little bit more effort, but the results are worth it. One of my mantras in life is that you can always add, but it's a lot harder to subtract. So when you are doing blending like this and you go to add eyeshadow to help blend, take the smallest amount and remember that you can always add more, but it's really hard to take it away after you've added it. And so now that I feel like I've got a much better control on blending out that deep crease color, I'm going to go back with more of the top crease color that I was using earlier and blend the edges towards the brow bone with that color. And you can run over the deeper crease color with that eyeshadow also if you want to tone down the eyeshadow a little bit. Actually, you know what? The more I look at the color I'm using right now, this one up here, you could use MAC's Bamboo in place of this one if you did want to recreate this look because it's extremely close to MAC's Bamboo. And so that's what it looks like when you have completed blending. At this point, I don't feel like I need to go back and add my blending shade to diffuse the edges of Ludwin because that was such a light color that I could blend it all the way up, and the blending shade was already applied onto the brow bone, and so it already looks like it's been blended along the edges. But if you felt like you had any harsh lines up here, you could go back with a little bit of the blending shade and use that along the edges to blend it a little bit more. And if you're wondering how I would complete a look like this, I would just take an eyeshadow like this yellow one on the end. This is Latinus, and apply this onto the lid. And there you go, 2 methods for blending and 2 entirely separate looks that you can create with a little bit of practice, a little bit of patience. And I will say, please don't give up on blending. If you feel like you haven't mastered it yet, take it from somebody who's been there. It took me about 3 years before I feel like I really got it. So you will get it, just don't give up on it. If you found this video helpful today, please give it a big old thumbs up, and I hope you will subscribe for future videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.